Hi, I'm Billy Gwaltney, and this is the CYA Podcast. This show is for the physician who understands the importance of protecting everything you've worked so hard to achieve. Each week, I'll bring you tips and advice to help you cut through the clutter and misinformation and show you exactly what you need to preserve your income and way of life. If you're ready to achieve the peace of mind that only financial security can bring, let's get started. Hello, welcome to today's episode of the Cover Your Assets podcast. This is your host, Billy Gwaltney, and as always, I'm happy to be with you. The title of today's program is Underwriting and Medical Records, and the role that medical records can play during the medical screening process for private specialty own occupation coverage for disability. Again, the coverage that I broker with thousands of physicians across the country is the best coverage you can get. And to obtain this coverage, there's some streamlined medical screening that's required upfront so that the insurance companies can confirm that you are healthy-ish. You don't have to be a triathlete or superstar, but they do want to confirm that you're healthy-ish. That confirmation up front is what allows them to offer the non-cancellable guaranteed renewable coverage where the definitions can never change, the policy can never be canceled, and the best definitions are included in the coverage, which is what you want. The medical screening process, and again, speaking primarily to trainees, can be a little bit different for attendings because they could be required to do an insurance physical, but we're going to assume that the insurance physical is not required. The process can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 8 weeks. Sometimes it's typically on the shorter end of that, but it can take a couple of months. It usually goes smooth. We've navigated this process for thousands and thousands of physicians across the country, and the vast majority of the times it goes as expected. We keep you posted. Everything's communicated and delivered electronically, and so we are proactive in that. We're in touch with the underwriters every day. But there are situations where it can take longer, and that's where the 8-week side, the longer end of the time frame, comes into view. And typically the reason that happens is when an underwriter needs to get medical records to verify what has been communicated through by you to the underwriter and maybe some follow-up questions. They just need to dot the I's and cross the T's and make sure that everything lines up. And when those records are requested, that's usually where the time lag comes in. You know, an insurance company, you sign a HIPAA as part of the application that is signed electronically. That is sent to your provider directly. They communicate that directly to your provider. Sometimes these providers want a wet signature on their own forms, on their own HIPAA authorizations. So we get that to you. That can be a bit of a time lag there to get that turned around and submitted. And then, typically you're physician, so you probably know there are record copying services that is outsourced, and they do it at certain intervals, every other week or every month or whatever the time frame is. And so you just kind of get put in line to wait for those records. And some offices are more efficient than others, right? And so there are times when it's a really quick turnaround, and then there are times when it's like it just disappears and appears to go into like a long queue where you're just going to wait your turn and they'll get to you when they get to you. This can be sped up by you, the insured, and the patient in this case by contacting your provider directly. A lot of times, now you can have a MyChart app or access to your own medical records that you can keep track of and download and forward over, and an underwriter will take all of that. They'll review that, and if that gives them the information that they need, then they don't have to wait for the official copy to come from the provider. So you can help with medical records. A lot of times your provider will respond to you as the patient much quicker. There could be situations where you're seeing a provider that you know personally. Maybe you have their cell phone number. Maybe you have a way to contact them and say, hey, can you help me out? Can you do a favor? I know my physicians. They're a client of mine. Actually, two of them are clients of mine. So if I need something, I'm just going to text them direct and say, hey, who can I talk to at your office to get something that an underwriter needs whenever I'm going through, if that ever is needed for life insurance or disability insurance or whatever. So take that route. Whatever you can do to help facilitate that is going to make it go quicker. Because once the records are in front of the underwriter, we'll have an answer pretty quick. I mean, they don't sit on those records for very long. Now, certain companies are more methodical, and when the records are submitted, they then have to wait their turn to get back to that case because they're underwriting dozens and dozens of cases, perhaps hundreds at a time, an individual underwriter will be. And so they just have to wait until they get back to that. But we're in touch with them a lot. We can rattle their cage and say, hey, these records are here. Let us know what you think. And we can get that answer really quick, typically once those records are provided. But you can definitely help speed up that process. You can be as involved in that. The more involved you are, a lot of times the quicker we'll get those records and we can get this wrapped up. Generally, though, like I said, the vast majority of the times it goes smooth and it's relatively quick, and even getting the records is relatively quick. But there are those times when hearing from the patient directly certainly moves the needle. So hope you found this helpful. Just wanted to provide some oversight and speak into this. We have people that ask these questions a good bit, and we've covered it in other podcasts, but I wanted to devote this one specifically to this. I like to keep these podcast episodes short, to the point. I hope you found this helpful. Please feel free to text me anytime to arrange a conversation or to ask questions. Happy to help you. My number is 704-270-2376. Again, 704-270-2376. I'll be happy to chat, arrange a time to talk further. Until we meet again, this is Billy Gwaltney. Thank you, as always, for your time.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.